Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Car Series brought to you by the Greater Kansas City Resiliency Network. My name is Aaron, and I'm back in the car. First time in 3 weeks that this has happened. Not too hot today, so taking advantage of it while I can to record in a car because they make such wonderful studios. Anyway, uh, I wanted to talk about another aspect of food resiliency and make an announcement relating to our booth. We're at the Painted Tree in Overland Park on 135th Street, right next to the Sam's Club. And and one of the things we have there is we have freeze dried food that for sale there, and we'd already priced it below kind of Etsy prices and stuff. But we made the decision last week that we're just going to cut prices further, and the reason for that is because we're not one we're not really making there to make money off of the freeze dried food. We want it to be as accessible as possible for people, so that and so we decided to just cut prices by across the board. So if you go, you'll find I think right now I have like cut green beans, we have broccoli, we have some Honeycrisp apples, biscuits and gravy, pulled pork, pulled chicken, pulled turkey, and and really, I mean, uh, the booth is supposed to help support our mission, but there's like the financial mission of ultimately building up to what I've already talked about, but there's also the mission of making things accessible to people. And a lot of times when you think about resiliency as a community, and I talked about this before, the importance of making sure that you have a couple weeks leeway and stuff, um, and freeze dried food is just one of those things that's really easy to stock up on. I know there's like canned food, but canned food has an issue in that the the linings, the stuff in the linings, can leach into the food over time because a lot of canned food has some acidity to it, and that eats into the packaging. And the and when you freeze dry it, you kind of stabilize it. It's it just keeps a lot longer. So it's more of a put away and forget about it kind of thing. Whereas, if I don't know if you had a can of Chef Boyardee that was like sitting around for a couple of years, it does not taste good. I mean, regardless of how you may feel about Chef Boyardee stuff, if you let it sit around for a couple of years and then you're like, well, I don't feel like making anything, I'll just warm it up. And I speak from personal experience on this. uh, Not only do your tastes kind of change from when you're a child, but so it moves from like, oh, this is awesome to, well, uh, you know, yeah, for a quick meal, I'm willing to make the sacrifice to. There's something wrong with this, and what's wrong with it is that the acidity in the tomato sauce just it eats away at the food, and anything in plastic, because those cans are going to have a liner in them that it also it eats away at the metal. About the only thing it doesn't eat away at is glass. So I know, for example, in our household, and I'm not into food woo kinds of stuff. I mean, I like to wait for studies to come out that are done by credible people and and there's about 6 months ago I decided to we're just going to shift over from using plastic Tupperware type containers to all glass stuff because you look at the rings and the stuff that's etched into the plastic and that isn't just food getting into the plastic, that's plastic then all it's swapping places with plastic. And and I just I there are a couple of new studies that came out that from sources that I trusted that I was like, yeah, okay, the science on this is pretty clear. Food grade plastic is food grade, but that means it only meets a certain threshold for safety, and we find more and more that people that there are things that affect us that haven't really been tested before, and that's so we switched over to glass, and that got me thinking about you know the cans and things like that. I mean, we've had a freeze dryer for about 2 years now, and there are certain foods you shouldn't be doing, like anything that's high fat, anything that's like got nuts in it, or there's limits to what you can reasonably do with a freeze dryer. I know that when it comes to meat, I like to I like pulled meat that because it's in smaller amounts and it's easier for it to dry, and it also means a lot of the fat's been cooked out of it. I know these days you have people selling like freeze dried raw meat, which seems to be where a lot of people on Etsy have gone to, is selling freeze dried raw meat that's labeled for pet use. I don't know if that's intent, and part of it is because I mean pet owners are often willing to pay more for they'll pay for high end pet food before they'll pay for high end food for themselves a lot of times. So there's a better market there, a more lucrative market, without having to do things like actually cook the food first. And I mean, like Honeycrisp apples, we're not cooking that, right? We slice it up, we throw it in the in the freezer, and then in the freeze dryer, and it's all good. But like our meats and stuff, when we cook those, we don't necessarily cook our veggies, and a lot of the things that we do are very basic. Like if you get like a pack of cut green beans for $3.95, all that's in there is green beans. If you start popping them like they're a snack or something, they're not going to taste very good because they're not seasoned. They don't have anything because people like to add their own seasonings. And in a situation where you're without power for 2 or 3 weeks, you still have their spices there that you can just jazz them up with. You just put them in, put with a little bit of water, maybe just in a wet towel or something, and let them soak up the water, and then add whatever spices you want to it, and they're you can eat them as green beans. Same thing with our broccoli and stuff. But there are other things that you can do with freeze dryers, like entire meals. So like we have our biscuits and gravy. We have and really when it comes to this, one of the things to understand when you go on Etsy, when you go on eBay, unless you're looking at somebody like Augustin Farms or someplace like that, and Augustin Farms does a lot of they do a lot of packaging for other companies, so a lot of the stuff that's done on an industrial scale actually comes from them, just packaged differently. They do a private label production. Uh, that's but but for everybody else, we're all using the same equipment. I guarantee you, there's people who just like go to like Walmart and buy cans of food and dump it out in a tray and freeze dry it and call it good. Um, and so most of us have pretty much the same product, and it's just a matter of competing for, or does somebody have a particular item that you want to sell on the platform you're looking at? If only one person has that, then they got your money. They make the sale, and so there's also, I've noticed, a kind of creeping up in prices on that, and it makes it less and less accessible. You're taking the same food everybody else has, and you're just like finding new ways to mark it up, Oh, look at our fancier packaging, look at this, look at that, you know. And you see silly stuff like you'll have somebody who has a heat sealed, vacuum packed, resealable bag, and they have the heat seal, and then underneath it there's the zipper package because it's supposed to be resealable, right? And then between them, they've punched a hole through it so it displays nicely on a hook in the kitchen or something, And I just look at that, I just want to die inside because you just ruined the whole point to heat sealing a Mylar bag. I don't know what to say. But it looks good. And also, one of the things that I see quite a bit is things in the quote unquote clear Mylar bags. Mylar is not clear. I mean, the Mylar that you want is solid, is a solid color. It's opaque. If there's a something that looks like a clear plastic panel on it, it's clear plastic, and it is permeable. It's air permeable, which also means there are three things that are bad for preserved food: light, which you just let light in. I guess four: oxygen and water and and um, and temperature. And you just subjected this stuff that you're selling for a pretty high price as kind of a an upscale boutique kind of item. For you just compromised the reason for buying such a thing in the first place. I mean, there's like conspicuous consumption, right? You can tell that with the fancy packaging and all that. Oh, look how good this displays and all. And I get it, that sells. That really sells. That's marketing. I've done retail management. I understand how this stuff works. I understand consumer psychology. I know that people want to see what they're buying, and I get that. But if you're looking to put, say, some pulled meat away or something like that for 5 years, you don't want a clear packaging. You don't want something that's going to be vulnerable to light and to oxygen and to water all getting in there. And when I say water, I'm talking about water vapor transported by the air. It does slowly seep into those things over time. Not to a point where you'd notice like water stains or anything, but enough to, with everything else, start the stuff kind of falling apart. And I know because when we got our food saver, it had a bunch of Mylar bags with these panels there, and we've sat the stuff on the shelf and we've compared them. And even with candy, it starts with candy, with pretty much anything with a clear panel, it'll start getting a little bit, just a tiny little, the texture changes just a little bit, and it doesn't do that with the solid Mylar bags. And so that's something to consider when you're looking at buying something. Unfortunately, can you see it? If the answer is yes, then it's not really shelf stable. Not like you're looking for a for an emergency stash. It just doesn't work. You know, it's you're gonna have a bad time during a time when you shouldn't be having when you're already having a bad time and you don't want to add to it. And I'm not saying it's gonna kill you, but uh, it, you know, food poisoning is no joke. You know, um, and uh, and that's why I think I hate to be the I don't care about making money. I do because I have a big project I want to fund, but this is not the way. So, like I said, we reduced prices, and we did it because I don't care where the market's going on the prices. I don't care where people are. We're doing this for our own purposes. We're doing this for our own reasons, and that is to help people. You know, and there's a time to make money. Oh, you want to make money? You want to give us money to go into our you know housing fund? Then you know, buy a button for $5 off of our website. You know, something like that. You know, or go to the painted tree and buy like something other than freeze dried food. You know, we have paintings and homemade jewelry and some 3D printed things that have actual utilitarian purpose to them, rather than just being decor and those little snake things, which are awesome, the dragons, but everybody makes those. Um, and yeah, it's just sometimes you just have to reassess why you're doing something and whether what you're doing aligns with what you claim you're trying to do. And so that's what we did with our stuff at the painted tree. Now, as a reminder, we don't sell any of our stuff online, with the exception of the badge buttons that I make at home. Just because we're not looking to become a big internet retailer. That's not really a sort of, we're focused on the greater Kansas City area. So if you don't live in Kansas City, in the Kansas City area, but you want to support us, watch our videos, subscribe, like, leave a comment, buy a button. And if you want to buy we're we have other things we're doing to they're going to be doing to raise some money. The startup costs for this project are not as much as I had expected when I started out. Turns out you can get some pretty good deals if you can show that you can do the work to upgrade a place. So yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day. I got to get back into work. I'm on my lunch break. I hope you all are having a good week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.